Welcome back to The Long Game. I'm Jay Roberts. Today, I'm joined by John Parsiani, founder and CEO of Parsiani Real Estate, a developer advisory firm that quietly operates behind many of South Florida's largest luxury projects. He's personally closed over $1.6 billion in sales, and his team more than $5 billion. He currently leads sales at Aria Reserve, the tallest waterfront twin towers in the United States. In this episode, we talk about what he calls the SEAL Team 6 behind billion-dollar developments, what developers get wrong, what buyers and brokers misunderstand, and what actually survives in this business when the technology changes. John, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You speak 4 languages, you've traveled to over 65 different countries, you've lived on 3 continents. Where were you born? How did you grow up, and how has that influenced your real estate career?
So Persian originally, so born in Shiraz, the city of wine and poetry. There was a revolution and a war, so we had to basically leave fake names, fake passports to India, then Singapore. Kind of like a James Bond movie for me at that age of 9 years old, but a little bit stressful for my mom that was handling all of that. We got to Sweden. Thought it was paradise, and here we are. We've landed somewhere that's now life is going to be beautiful. Lo and behold, there was a whole set of new challenges there, dealing with racism and skinheads and neo-Nazi parades. And
What years was this?
This was back in the 90s.
Okay.
So very heavy back in those days, especially in that regard. And yeah, so had to deal with that as a teenager growing up.
So immigrant, fled your country, moved to different countries, landed in
Sweden,
Stockholm, Sweden, and here you're facing racism.
Yeah. So yeah, not as a teenage boy at that time in my school, it was me and there was another guy, a boy that was adopted, and we were the only 2 non-blonde hair, blue eyes, and at that time, so it was kind of,
as you know, I was adopted.
Yeah.
You can imagine. Yep.
Yeah, so sticking out like a sore thumb, and growing up there was not easy at the time as a teenage boy, but it built me. It added things, and it became my mission to basically say, you know what, I'm not going to be judged by the way I look and where I come from. I want to be in a society that judges you based on what you bring to the table. Not those kind of exterior factors that you can't help. So then America became my dream, and I kind of set my goal on, I'm going to go to U.S. as soon as I can. So I applied for college when it was time, and that was my kind of burning desire to be in U.S. and have the American dream, and here we are.
There's a lot of successful people that they start in other countries, and they see America and the U.S. as this place of you can pursue the American dream, you can work hard, you can become anything you want. I'm sure you moved here, with very little, and now you're one of the most successful real estate agents in Miami, and you've been in Miami for over 2 decades. What was it like when you first moved to Miami, and what made you move here?
So it was between Hawaii and Miami. I was accepted into Honolulu University as well, so that was enticing. And one of my sisters lived in Miami at the time, so I said, you know what? And I went to Daytona Beach, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University up there. So at that time, I was studying aviation. Computer science was the initial major. I said, you know what, at least I want to be somewhere close, to have some family close by. So kind of Miami also was beautiful. So, that took the first place over Hawaii. So ended up here. And Miami was at that time, it was like 3 things to do in Miami. You go to the beach, you go to the mall, or you go to nightclubs. That was all of Miami.
Okay.
It was everything that, Miami was known for. So my friends used to come and visit. Okay, we're in Miami. What do we do? I said, okay, we got the beach.
Yeah.
We have the nightclubs, or we can go to the mall and
Yeah.
buy some stuff, and that was it. But
What mall was popular back then?
Back in those days, Sawgrass
Bell
was
Harbor,
around,
Sawgrass.
Aventura was around.
Yeah.
How much we've changed now.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Brickell City Center, we're sitting right here.
Yeah.
And you worked in the airline industry before you got into real estate.
Yeah. I got I have an engineering degree from Sweden. I got my business degree from here. I graduated summa cum laude 4.0, and I got into the airline industry as an executive to kind of work my way up. It was a summer job that then I got promoted, and was rising very fast through the corporate ranks there. So I was the marketing and sales manager for Southeast Florida, in charge of about $76 million worth of accounts. dealing with Bacardi USA, American Express, negotiating all of those contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts with them. And I remember I renegotiated. My job was to maintain these contracts, not to negotiate. But in my Persian blood, I was like, I saw,
Yeah.
I saw an opportunity to, I said, we're leaving money on the table here. I'm just going to negotiate this and see what we can get, and it worked.
Yeah.
It brought something like $1.3 million more per year on a 5-year contract extra. So I remember I was so happy. I went into my sales director's office. I slapped that contract on the table. Look what I did. And she was like, I can't believe this. How did you get this? How did you manage this? And I said, well, I saw the opportunity and it worked. Congratulations. That's amazing. I said, okay, but that's great. What am I getting? You know,
What's my prize?
I brought all these millions. What's the upside here? And she said, no, John, that's not how it works. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're going to get a raise next year on your anniversary date. It's seniority based in the airline industry. And I said, okay, so how much is that? Something like 46 cents more per hour. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, is this
46?
Yeah, something, your normal next raise based on seniority. And I was venting to my mom when I got home. And I was like, I can't believe this. And no wonder nobody really goes above and beyond, because, you're not really incentivized to do anything. And after a lot of the venting over and over again, she basically said, why don't you get into real estate at some point? I think you do great. You're traveling 3-4 days a week. You're on the road. You're negotiating these multi-million-dollar contracts. I think you'll be, the sky's the limit in the real estate side. And I listened to her, and here we are, 20-some years later.
So you got your license, and where did you first start?
Started actually at Ocean View International Realty, which was the largest independent brokerage, thousands of agents at that time. And I started there as a new agent, and within the first month and a half, I think, the broker there said, you're going to be the office manager for our Hollywood office. I said, I just got my license. Like, I don't know. No, you're going to do great. You just take that on. I have a feeling you're going to do well. And I said, okay. So that kind of I had to shorten my learning curve very quickly, because then I had to really study, because if I'm the office manager, all these agents are coming to me, I have to know what I'm talking about. So that forced me to kind of really study more and take on that role and that responsibility. And then from there, I went to Sotheby's. At that time, Sotheby's was 8 agents for all of the Miami market. And
8
8.
agents.
That's it.
Wow.
You couldn't get in if you wanted to. I mean, it was like the top tier.
Okay.
It was
The creme de la creme back then. Okay.
$2 million and up exclusively.
Yeah.
So if you had a $1.9 million listing, we can't help you. Go to someone else, right? So we could not touch any listings under $2 million. That was our starting price point back then, which was, and 3 agents for the Fort Lauderdale office. That's it. That was all of Sotheby's.
How they've grown.
And that was the previous ownership, and then the new ownership, Mai and Daniel, came in and took over some years later. So I saw the before and I saw the after. It was amazing, because we had, between the 3 of us, we had something like $300 million worth of listings. These were mostly homes, single-family homes with signs that, I remember buyers we had the phones that used to never stop ringing, obviously. And these are direct buyers on sign calls that they're calling us. And we used to fight over who's going to take the calls on the weekends.
Like the ringing, the phones are actually ringing. We got to pick them up. No cell phones back then.
And we were, and it was like we were fighting. I'm not going to take the calls this weekend. I took them last. And now, in that young age, when you don't know, and now I think about it, and I'm like, how stupid were we to argue about who's going to take these direct leads on these multi-million-dollar leads? I don't want to take them this weekend. So from there, basically, went to England Vokers for a short period of time, went back to school to graduate summa cum laude, and then from there went to Cervera and was there with them for about 9 years, almost a decade.
And there you performed exceptionally well.
Yes.
What did you learn from just getting your license? You're working in that, you become the office manager, you go to Sotheby's, you go back to school, now you're at Cervera. What drove you at that point? What do you think helped you excel? For those listening, what can they take away from someone who's sold over $1.6 billion in real estate personally?
So I was on a mission so the first half of my real estate career, I took it as it's not really my passion. It's just something that kind of pays the bills. But then when I went back to school to graduate, I had the mind to go back to corporate. I had business ideas that I wanted to get off the ground, startups, et cetera. So I said, I want to go back and get my business degree. I had a passion to do it right. I was a little bit more mature at that point. So I graduated 4.0. I was, at that last year, I was living in a Buddhist temple for a year as well. So it's fully Zen and meditation and Reiki and you name it. So I was fully charged by the time, and I graduated and I accomplished my goal of 4.0 full honors graduate. And I was going to go back to the corporate world. And I remember at the Buddhist temple, there was a dinner that we had with many people that used to come. And the owner of the temple introduced me to someone, God bless his soul. She said, John, you're in real estate, so-and-so. And I heard, it was loud, and I heard Cervera. I said, oh, I shook his hand and I said, nice to meet you, sir. So you work with Cervera? And he said, no, I am Cervera. So that was Cervera Senior. Yeah. That was himself. We spoke and hit it off. And he said, young man, there's a position for you, I think, in my company. You have to come for an interview. And I said, no, I'm actually going to corporate. And he insisted. He said, no, you have to come for an interview. And I did, and got back into it on a different level. Cervera is I'm forever grateful to them. They're an amazing company. They are the kind of like the Yale of, in terms of, learning about new construction and pre-construction. They are the kind of boot camp military force of like, that's where if you want to learn, that was a great place. And I learned a lot there in terms of new development sales.
I had Alicia Cervera here on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and she told me about the early days when Cervera was working hand in hand with George Perez and with Related, and how they really were the pioneers in new development sales.
Absolutely.
And so they were the Ivy League really training ground for new agents, or not new agents, but agents who wanted to sell that way.
100%. I mean, Alicia Senior is near and dear to my heart always, and she's the one that pioneered that, the new development sales down here in South Florida, and kind of really took it from what it was, which was almost non-existent, to something more perfected and a different scale. So,
John, when we first met, you told me something interesting, and you said that you're like not like a shark, but more like a dolphin. And, you like to use your brain, to solve problems.
Instead of my teeth, I use my brain.
You use your brain.
Yeah.
And you've built a SEAL Team 6 type model with your sales team. Tell the listeners, what is your model that works so well that you sold $1.6 billion in real estate over the last few years?
For me, it was always about, ingrained in me from when I was young. It's about how can this be done better? So whatever you're doing, there's always a different level. It's never about kind of resting on your, on what you've done and just kind of sit back and relax now that you're at a good position. It's always about there's a next level. Even if you are the greatest, even if you've broken every record, there's always the next level. There's always more to learn. Kind of like the Buddhist philosophy of the more I learn, the higher I go, the more I see, the less I know, or the less I realize I know. So that kind of philosophy of there's always, the more you realize that, first half of my real estate, I'd worked with the best of the best. I had, had all the best listings and all the best sales in terms of that. And then I joined Cervera, and I realized there's a whole new world in terms of pre-construction sales that I had not ventured into. And I remember I was managing the flagship office at 50 Biscayne at the time, and I was a sales director there with the corner office, and I went to Alicia Senior and I said, I want to be on this project, which was Ari on the Bay at that time, and Ari is a Persian name, so I thought there was some, universal synergy that came down. I said, that's the project I want to be on. And I remember she told me, John, there are leaders and there are salespeople, and I think you're more on the leadership side. I don't know that you're going to do as good of a job as you're doing on the leadership on the sales side. And I said, well, let me prove you wrong. And she said, well, if you want it, go ahead. And when you do 10 sales, come and I'll take you out to dinner. 138 sales later, I said, where's that dinner we talked about? For me, it was always about excelling and seeing what the pain points are and addressing those. Your best potential is always beyond your current grasp, right? And your competition is always yourself. I don't ever look outside.
That's It's a very Buddhist way of thinking.
Yeah.
I have a similar mindset, is that I look internally to solve the problems.
Right.
And externally, it's very stoic.
Right.
Things are happening, but if you can control what's inside of you, you can deal with anything that's out there. And there's things that you can't control,
Right.
and you just have to let those things be.
100%. Worry about what you can control, surrender the rest, and never see anyone else as your competitor, because you don't know their journey, you don't know what they're going through. They might look like they're on cloud nine and they're not, or vice versa. So, and you can't ever do what someone else does.
Right.
I can't ever compete with you, because I can't ever connect with people the way you connect with people. I can't. I don't have life experience that you do, and neither can you connect with me, because it's the same thing there. So I don't ever look at other people that way. I only look to see what are they doing right and what can I learn from that. Never, why them and why not me.
You've invested a lot in yourself. I can tell, and I'm learning more even right now. We're just saying how we met in April 2025, and we have spent considerable time together.
Yeah.
So you've invested a lot in yourself, John. What are some of the big motivators and people in your life, or that you found and learned from, that have helped you internally with growing yourself and improving yourself?
So when you have a life that's full of uncertainty, war, revolution, racism, countries and places where you don't belong, and you don't see your friends when you were a child. Now you're in a different place, and when you're in high school, you don't have those kind of friendships and relationships, because you're constantly on the move that way. There's a lot that you have to kind of work through, and I started on that self-improvement, self-development journey in my late 20s, early 30s. I started with Landmark, then it went into Tony Robbins, then it was Joe Dispenza. I mean, you name it. It just all the books, all the tapes, all the videos, all the self-improvement that I could get my hands on every morning and every evening. But Tony Robbins was an integral part of that, especially in terms of business. So I took all of his programs. And I remember, kind of auspicious, I was coming home, I was very frustrated about something that had happened. And I open up my mailbox for the first time ever. I have a Tony Robbins, a card that says, that had to do exactly with what I was upset about in my mind. And I took that as a sign, and it was in Long Beach, California at the time.
Wow.
So I had to go all the way over there, and money was tight.
In Long Beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
So it was, and I was like, it couldn't be further in the United States, going from here to Long Beach, like literally the other side of the country.
The conference was in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was over there. So the advertisement was for that. And I was like, why did this even end up here in my mailbox? But I said, you know what, it's a sign. Emotionally, it was so charged that I said, I'm going to take this as a sign, and I'm going to go. And money was tight. I put it all on my credit card, the car, the flight, the hotel, the ticket, all of that. And I went there, and I bought his whole program while I was there. So, and it was not inexpensive.
No.
Especially, at that time. So I put that on my credit card, and I came back, and my family was like, you got taken. Like, you've been scammed. Like, they took you for everything. You did what?
Yeah.
Like, how could you spend this kind of money? And I said, no, you just watch.
Yeah.
Like, everything that I learned from there, see how I do before you judge. And I remember in a month and a half, I made up for more than I had spent going there. And that I started taking all of his courses and all of his seminars. And that was a big part of removing the obstacles and getting me to the goals that I wanted to set and go from there. And I've far surpassed anything. And I still have those Date with Destiny cards that you make, and the whole, kind of vision board that you make for yourself. And, the goals that you have, you write them down. I still look at that sometimes and I smile, because it's like you far surpassed anything that I was dreaming at that time that I was hoping ultimately to do. So
the highest performers out there, they look internally,
Right.
and they really look within to better themselves and improve themselves. And visualization is so powerful. And
Absolutely.
so important. You see Olympic medalists, you see professional athletes, CEOs that talk about visualizing,
Right.
and how important and powerful manifesting, visualizing, whatever you want to call it, the secret, the law of attraction. Personally, I have my own affirmations that I read every single morning, that I typed out an email to myself of the highest vision for myself, my business, my family, my health. And I look at it every day, and I have my own digital vision board, and it's crazy how it comes true. And when you say these things and you look at them every single day and you focus on them, we have our subconscious mind, we have our conscious mind, and we have our subconscious mind.
Right.
And when you feed your subconscious mind, oftentimes our subconscious mind is what's navigating or driving, the car, driving the plane. And so you've studied that and you've excelled so much. And I can tell that you're, very at peace with yourself.
Absolutely. No, in the Persian faith, which is the Zoroastrian faith, which is one of the oldest religions on the planet, that, the first monotheistic faith on the planet that believes in one God and one higher power that started all the Abrahamic religions. The main credo is good thoughts, good words, and good actions. So it all starts with your thinking, having good thoughts, and then good words when you speak. The power of the word, like the Bible says, also one of the most powerful things you can do, and then good actions, taking good actions to follow that. Those three can be applied to any civilization across any time. You don't need a 5,000-page book. That can be applied, and that can work across any time in any country. Have good thoughts, speak good words, and take good actions.
Yeah.
And that, good results will follow.
I have a similar mantra where your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny.
Destiny, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great that we share that same similar thinking and beliefs. So let's talk about Aria and your success there.
Sure.
You've sold, nearly $2 billion. You work with the Mellows, who are low-key developers. What's it been like selling out now 3 projects with them?
So it's been phenomenal. It's been a privilege, a beautiful family, an amazing family. They are one of the legacies and one of the, they're the number one taxpayer in the city of Miami. So they have almost 10,000 doors across 26 high-rise luxury rental buildings. They've done 28 high-rise buildings in 26 years. They've done 28 buildings. So and more than one high-rise building built per year for 26 years straight. I don't think any developer can say that in Miami. I'm not sure. The last time I checked, I don't think anyone has that.
The Mellows are very under the radar.
Track record, yeah, they are. And I think that because it's a family business, it's fully vertically integrated. They
self-perform.
Right. They have their own GC. They self-finance a $1.7 billion project that I don't know any developer that can do that.
Yeah.
I have the world of respect for them. They are amazing in what they do. They know what to do and when to do it. As developers, as you know, you have to make 100 decisions before you even think about launching.
Yeah.
And one of those decisions, if you make the wrong, that can cost you tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, and that's why kind of when I was thinking about starting my own company 5 years ago, I said, the world doesn't need another brokerage. There's thousands of brokerages out there. What the world needs is a trusted advisor. What developers need is a trusted advisor. So I'm not going to just start a company just as another real estate brokerage. What I want to do is I know what the developer's pain point are. I know what the broker pain points are, and I know what the buyer pain points are. I want to start a firm that is going to help developers make better decisions and with more confidence. So that was my goal. I'm not going to grow this company to be competing with the big companies out there. That's not the business model. Mine is not to be the Navy or the Army. It's to be the special forces, high value, specialist, high value target. We one target at a time. We're not going to spread ourselves thin across different competing interests that will take away from it. We're going to go in until the job is done. We don't come out.
Yeah.
We leave no man behind. We go in, we get the job done in the fastest, and we're more agile. A cruise ship or aircraft carrier is not going to be able to turn, depending on the storm that's ahead, 90 degrees. With us, because we're more agile special forces, we will adjust with the market. I'm not going to tell clients, and I think that's where trust comes in. Everybody's transaction focused. Mine is more decision focused. I built Parsiani Real Estate to be decision focused, where we focus on making the right decisions ahead of time.
What does that look like?
So it's preparation. I think preparation is the highest form of respect. As a developer, respect for the market and for the clients that you're going to be servicing. As a broker, for the clients that you're going to be helping out, and for the developer that you're going to be taking them to. So it's all about preparation. I'm obsessed with preparation, preparing for the market, preparing for the prices, the floor plans, analyzing everything, and making sure that, before any sale is done, that we have earned the trust. The thing with trust is negotiations. Trust is not earned during negotiations. Trust is earned before any negotiations begin. Try to impart that on the clients or the developers that I work with, is we have to prepare in advance so that when we deal with the client, before the first sale ever happens, we have earned that trust of that client, right? So we have that momentum behind us. So yeah, that's the motto of the company, and that's the vision.
You've earned the trust of Mark Anthony, the singer. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
How did you build trust with Mark Anthony?
So interesting story. I was sitting in the sales office, and I got a call from a Beverly Hills number, and I pick up, and younger kid on the other line, and he says, Mr. Parsiani. I said, yes. He said, my boss came across your marketing on the penthouse that you're selling. He's very interested. Can you send us more information? I said, sure. Who's your boss? I can't tell you. Said, okay. What email do I send it to? You can send it to mine. Okay. I'll send it to that. He calls me back about an hour and a half later. So, Mr. Parsiani I showed it to my boss. Everything is great. He would like to meet you. I said, okay. So, this is the sales office address. Let me know when. No. I'd like to meet you at his house. I said, well, who's your boss? I can't. I said, well, I'm not going to go to somebody's house if I don't know who they are. He said, well, please keep it confidential, but this is who it is. I said, okay. I thought maybe my friends were playing a joke. And drove there. The gate opens. I get to sign some paperwork, and the gentleman says, he's interviewing many agents. You have 15 minutes, and then you have to leave. No problem. Okay. So I brought the marketing materials. An hour and a half later, we're having wine. We're talking. He canceled all the other appointments. The main thing with that was when I sat down, he was sold on the penthouse. He said, I want to sign. This is an amazing penthouse. Everything looks great to me. Where do I sign? Where do I send the funds? And I said, Mark, with all due respect, let me ask you a few questions. What is it that you're going to use this for? Well, I'm going to have this, that, and the other. I thought about it, and I said, this is not going to be the right fit for you. The elevator is not a private elevator. Yeah. Your guests are going to be going through all these other places. They're going to have to go through upstairs to the lobby to this place, walk through past 3 other elevators to get to yours, and then go up to you. This is not a private scenario that, based on what you're telling me, it's not going to be a good fit for you, right? And the commission on the line was pretty huge, especially at that time, especially for me. And I convinced him against it. I said, we can find you the right property. This is not it. Please allow me to help you find the right property for you. I think that's what kind of, what was the,
of course,
telling the clients not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. Right?
And it goes against your interest.
Right. But my interest was to gain the relationship. I think a lot of brokers think that they're salespeople. And I think we're in the trust business. We're in the earning trust business, not so much. And I've been through those cycles. I've made all those mistakes. I was very transaction focused. I tried to be a shark in my career at some point. It just didn't sit well with me. It wasn't the right fit for me. So I tried those suits and I tried those different hats until I found the one that really fit, and it was me. So that's how I can be confident in knowing that the hat I'm wearing is the correct one, is because I've tried all those other ones. I've tried doing things in different ways, and I've realized that this road is wrong. This road will not lead you the right way. So, and I found like trust is the way to go, and telling clients what they need to hear. And it has cost me a lot of business in the short term, but it had helped me build lasting relationships for decades. So it more than pays off for itself.
Playing the long game. Playing long game.
Always.
Miami is going through an incredible time. South Florida, you've been here for over 2 decades, so you've seen the ups and the downs. What makes now different than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Even 6 years ago. I mean, I think COVID is what really changed us. It was a blessing in disguise. I was doing public speaking, talking about Miami and, how amazing Miami is. I remember going to Turkey in 2014, and I was on stage speaking in front of thousands of people there. And I remember saying something about Miami, and somebody stood up and said, "No, you guys, I think you guys are a little bit overpriced." And back then we were talking $550 a square foot for new development on the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I smiled and laughed and said, "You guys are more expensive on the Bosphorus here in Turkey, with all due respect, than we are in Miami in a first world prime real estate. So I don't know how you can say that we are overpriced. I think we're just scratching the surface." But no one, some foreign buyers saw that opportunity in Miami because they were coming from a different market. Most of the domestic buyer market did not see potential in Miami. They were too good for us. And I was speaking on stages and I was saying, this is the greatest market that's undervalued and underestimated. And COVID is what really changed it in terms of law, in terms of freedom, in terms of crime, in terms of sheer opportunity, in terms of talent, in terms of tax friendliness, business friendliness with our mayor. It has all of the ingredients to make for an amazing city. The way I look at it is New York, LA, Monaco, whatever, those cities that you want to compare it to, they're like the 80-year-olds that have had their prime, they've seen their prime, and Miami is like the 35-year-old just coming onto its own. It's still making mistakes.
Late 20s, maybe.
Right, maybe. It's still making mistakes.
Yeah.
It's still far from perfect.
Yeah.
But it has an amazing potential ahead of it, and it's heading in the right direction. Everyone from the talent all the way up to the employers of huge companies are seeing the potential and moving their funds down here, right?
Yeah.
And I think that perfect storm is what gives me confidence that, again, we're scratching the surface even today of where we're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, because now, New York, LA, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, DC, Texas even, all of the places that never had us on the radar, were never looking at us as a potential, are now actively seeing this as not the place they want to just play and come for vacation, but the actual place that they want to live and maybe move to, if not immediately down the line, or at least have a place here to have, just to say, you know what, I just helped a really good client of mine, big public figure from New York, get his first place in Miami finally, after years of me saying, you need to come. And he's a big New York guy. A
lot of the big New York guys they didn't come in the first wave.
Right.
And they held out.
Yep.
And they're coming.
They're coming now.
They're coming.
For sure.
Yeah.
And and he's not going to move here tomorrow. He's not planning on doing it. But he said, you know what, finally, I need to have something in Miami to say it's my own.
Yeah.
Because all of his friends, guess what? They all have their place in Miami.
Yeah.
And everybody says, I'm going down to Miami, to my place and this. So the word is getting around. And like you said, the people that held out the first time around are definitely coming down this time.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
You're into cars.
Yes.
You have a Ferrari. You're part of the Ferrari club. How did you get into that, and when did you buy your first Ferrari?
So 2.5 years ago, I want to say, I think is when I got my first Ferrari. I was always a big car guy. I remember from back in the day when I had my first car in college, it was a Chrysler LeBaron turbo convertible, 3-spoke wheels. I had to rebuild the engine twice on it because I was racing. So always been big on cars, always been a passion of mine. Then it was an Audi TT Quattro. Then it was a Land Rover. Then it was a Maserati. So I've been through all of the, the different car brands. Ferrari was one of the top.
What's special about Ferrari? Yeah, what is?
It's
because we've talked about this.
It's not just a car. It's a kind of a club that you join, right? It's a mindset of people that are like-minded, that appreciate what's rare. That it's not about showing off. It's not about money, because even in a Ferrari dealership, money doesn't buy you the car. It's one of those things, like I'm a big watch guy as well, like with Patek. It's not just because you have the money you can get something. You have to build a relationship. And again, that's what I respect about it.
John Parsiani, you're big on relationships. You're big on trust. Yes. You're big on mindset.
Yes. So I think that is the key. I think in anything, business is about relationship, is about trust. I think trust compounds more than capital. Relationships compound more than capital. Knowledge compounds more than capital. I think those are the things that I try to invest my time and effort into. Money and capital will be as a result of those things compounding.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's different with the Ferrari and the Ferrari Club, is because it's an amazing relationship that you build about something you're passionate about. And what you're passionate about is not something that you show off. It's the finest of the finest. It represents something that is beautiful, something that performs as its best, and something that just money cannot get, that you have to have a relationship to be able to be a part of that. And I think that's what kind of got me as a car collector kind of into that world as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you have an
And my dog enjoys it as well.
what's your dog's name?
Simba.
Simba.
He loves it.
Yeah.
I had to buy goggles for him because he loves to lean out of the side when I drive and kind of take on the wind, and his eyes were getting dry and every time I drove. So I got goggles for him, and now he's
What a lucky dog.
Loving life.
He's enjoying the Miami life.
Yes, indeed.
And on the personal front, you have a recent new special someone.
Yes.
How is that going? How is that affecting your business?
I didn't think you were going to go personal, but yes, I found that special someone, and it's going beautifully. And I think what changed in my life is it, first of all, it's brought me peace, incredible amount of peace and joy. But it also kind of freed up a lot of space that was previously taken in terms of brain power and energy and effort, and has now redirected that towards much more important things.
Yeah.
Family being number one,
Yeah.
legacy being number two, giving back being number three, all of the things that really is the joy of life, and all those things that really matter, more than the Ferraris and the watches and all of those materialistic things that are here today and gone tomorrow. And I remember when I just got in my car, I was at the Motor Miami at the Biltmore, and we were displaying the cars, and everybody next to me had much more expensive cars, a lot of them than even mine. And the doors were locked, and they had put things around so people couldn't sit inside. And I just, the door open, and someone came with their kid, and the son was like, "Oh my God, I want to sit in it." And it was like, "No, you cannot." I was like, "Sure you can. Go ahead." And I remember one guy came to me and said, "I can't believe you would let that kid sit in your car." And I said, "It's a car. It's not, And I just made his day. So what? Even if he scratched a seat or whatever he did, it's just a material thing. It's not something that's going to last. That memory is what really is going to make a difference. So I think we get attached to, in terms of achievers and people like us, that we always want to achieve and want to be successful. Sometimes we lose track that the material things that we buy are tied to us in terms of, and it affects our happiness and our joy. One thing I learned when I was in the Buddhist temple is the more things you have in life as materialistic things, the more it's like a string, like a web to a spider. And the more strings you have to all of these materialistic things, if you view them as important, the more your life in terms of happiness and misery will be up and down. Because at some point, somebody's pulling on this string, somebody dented this car, you lost the watch, you lost this, something happened to this thing. So there's always going to be this up and down in your life. If you cut those strings where they don't mean that much to you, then it's just life is on that kind of smooth sailing.
That's right.
So,
And where are you traveling to this summer?
this summer I'm staying put because we're about to deliver the second tower. I usually always travel to Italy. I know Andrea Bocelli and his wife are amazing people, and we go to Forte de Marme, to their villa, and they do a beautiful private concert for family and friends, and it's a charity for children, which I'm big on. And one day, as a legacy piece, I hope that God grants me the pleasure to be able to build schools for kids in third world countries. So that's a big piece of my kind of legacy that I want to leave behind. So it's a charity for kids. We go there in Italy. They do an amazing concerts. All the who's are there. Happy to invite anybody that wants to kind of go there and have that experience and give to the good cause. But this summer, we're delivering the second tower of Aria Reserve Miami, 361 units. We have 15 remaining residences left on that to sell, and who knows what's next. So,
And we'll round it out with this. John, for those looking to play the long game, for those looking to compound relationships, compound trust, compound knowledge, what advice do you have to leave? What do you want to leave our listeners with?
I would say play the long game.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You know, never exchange transactions for relationships. Always put trust ahead of money and income, because trust will compound much more than capital will over time. Think about the long game. Don't think about the short term. No one has patience anymore. No one wants to invest in something. I think everybody's, especially in real estate, when agents come and come on board to my company, I always tell them real estate is like farming. You have this piece of land that's barren. You plant the seeds. You have to make sure to water them. You have to make sure the birds don't eat them. You have to make sure they get enough sun. You don't come back the next month or the next week and say, I'm hungry. I want to eat from the fruits of my labor. There's not going to be anything there.
Yeah.
You have to continue cultivating this land, and in X amount of time, hopefully you've cared for it enough where you have all of these fruit trees that you can then, eat from.
Yeah.
So it's that letting the compounding of your trust and your relationship and your knowledge and your expertise, letting that compound so that can pay you back. But most people quit before that can ever pay you back because they're impatient. So I would say play the long game. Always think about, I used to be a much bigger chess player. I haven't played it in a while, but I'm big on chess. And if there's one thing I learned from chess is you don't win on the move you're making today. You're winning on the preparation of the move you're making tomorrow. And I think that's what's going to allow you to be successful in life.
John, amazing. Congrats on all your success. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.